job of sitting in white paint. Most of the animals here tend to congregate around the watering hole, so we'll pull up here and take a look. We have some deer in the foreground. The orangey spotted ones with the nice antlers are Mandarin Shika. There's also some tiny deer, which are hog deer. They kind of look like babies to the others. They're from India. They get the name from their short, stout little bodies and short, stout little legs, like hogs. There's also some sheep and bison here. Now the bison are the woolly ones, but the sheep are not. None of the sheep we have at the Wild Animal Park ever get thick wool, because thick wool was artificially bred into sheep by people. Wild sheep have short hair. Makes sense when you think about it, because in the wild, there'd be nobody around to shear them when it got hot in the summers. Nature would not develop an animal that could not lose its winter coat and had to be sheared. It just doesn't make any sense. The biggest deer, calmly eating at the feeder, is a white-lipped deer from China. Doesn't care if the sheep are fussing with each other. It's none of his concern. He would only be concerned if another big male deer came up to challenge him for breeding favors of the females. Those white-lipped deer have impressive antlers. And those are little sheep at the feeder there with him. You can tell because they jump into it. They don't get woolly. And those are females without the big curled ram's horns, so they don't really look like sheep. Hopefully I can show you some of the big males. The deer around the perimeter of the pond, those are the Pear David's deer. Their natural habitat was a wetlands area, so they like the wet, muddy stuff. They were at one time very widespread, found throughout China, Korea, and Japan. But due to the world's expanding human population, they were pushed off their native lands a long time ago. Pear David deer lived in captivity now about 1,800 years. We have some goats up at the dry, rocky end of the exhibit. There's a couple in the feeder with the bison. And then at the back fence line, where there's a rock pile at the back fence line, there's a bunch of goats there. Oh, the biggest goat is actually in the shade of that top rock. He has these corkscrew horns. We're going to go around the other side, so we'll be closer, but they're standing right behind some bushes at that fence line, so I don't know if we'll be able to see them from the other side. These goats are called Markhor. They are the first goats, the originals that today's goats are bred down from. They're from the Rocky Mountainous regions of northern Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, which is some of the most challenging vertical terrain in the world. Your best bet's probably on the left side. We have a dozen endangered Chinese corral. We do have 4 animals on the right side. They are Japanese Serow and surprisingly are rather visible at the base of the closest tree. These animals can be difficult to see, but we generally smell them pretty well. They have this distinctive musky scent. This is because they are so timid, they hide in the forest, and they cannot find each other. So, when looking for a mate, they follow their nose. That's why musk perfume is so popular, because it works. It should work. Musk perfume is made from the musk glands of deer. We can try to see if we can get a peek at the goats coming up in this front corner. In the shade of that top rock. Oh, there's a couple sentinels just standing up on guard duty, looking around from the highest rock. They blend in pretty well with these rocks near the bison. European bison from Poland and Russia. It takes them about 5 months to get their winter coat and about 5 months to lose it. So they only look decent about 2 months a year. But then it's only warm 2 months a year in Poland. These European bison are still endangered, but American bison are not. American bison have been successfully reintroduced into the American West. There's some of the rams and the beautiful curled ram's horns in the shade in the foreground. Here's a handsome boy. Goats are eating what's left of a tree they already killed. Notice the squirrel collars around the base of the trees, around the forks of the trees. They're actually goat collars. Our horticulture department creatively invented these things to keep the goats from jumping up into the fork of the tree and killing off the top part, which kills off the whole tree. So those are our goat collars to keep the goats out of the trees. Some more in the shade of another tree. Beautiful curled ramshorns on those shade. Little female in the foreground barely has any horns at all. A lot of the deer are down in the mud at the bottom of the ravine. Oh, and here's some more of those white-lipped deer from China, the ones with the biggest antlers. Handsome fellas.
Yeah.
Antlers are deciduous, like leaves on a tree, grown and lost every year. They grow them in anticipation of courtship and breeding season, because their primary purpose is to attract the attention of the females, and secondarily to fight off other males for breeding rights of the females. Once courtship and breeding season is over, the antlers are not needed, so they dry up and fall off the head. And they have to grow them again the next year. Antlers are made of bone, so that's the equivalent of us growing a new set of arms every year. Crossing the dividing wall back into Africa, we see some ostrich and rhinoceros, the northern white rhinoceros. Ostriches got the attention of the calf on the other side of the wall. We call ostrich the nosy neighbors of the animal kingdom because they're known for their intense curiosity and the fact that they're tall enough they can see over the lower cement portion of the wall, so they like to look across at their nosy neighbors. They do that a lot. The next animals are coming up on the left side. This is a special environment for the mountain goats. The food bins are at the bottom. It looks like most of the goats are too. I don't really see that many up in the rocks. Usually we come by and they're all up in the rocks, but it looks like they're down at the bottom. I suspect they're in the lower right corner in the shade too, because there's 42 goats in this exhibit, so gotta be somewhere.
Crawling.
We've got squirrels or something.
Yeah,
These are goats from the Himalayan and Siberian mountains. So they are especially adapted for this vertical terrain. Their coloring provides excellent camouflage, and they do have special footwear that gives them great traction on the rocks. Even the babies are very sure-footed. I'm sure a lot of zoos would consider a vertical barren cliff just to be a waste of space. But we consider ourselves quite fortunate to have this natural habitat. We did not have to build it. We're going to cross the way at the giraffe. The baby giraffe is about the height of the ostrich, which would be about right, since baby giraffe are about 6 feet tall at birth, and that baby is about 6 months old. She'd be about 8 feet tall now, about the same as the ostrich. Giraffe and ostrich are known for their superior long-distance vision. But since ostrich have a tendency to be too nosy and get into mischief, the other animals don't really pay much attention to the ostrich. They do, however, depend upon the giraffe to warn them of danger, since giraffe can see danger from miles away. You may notice these 2 trees in the immediate foreground have been rather well trimmed by the giraffe. Well, that's okay. These are African coral trees. They are a natural food for the giraffe. Although they do trim the native California trees pretty much. We'll get another look at our grandfather giraffe. Looks like he's slowly making his way across the exhibit. You might have noticed throughout our tour the things that look like termite mounds or anthills. Those are artificial. We built them. They're giraffe water fountains. See, as a giraffe ages, it's not as flexible and limber as it used to be when it was younger, and they have a hard time doing the splits with their front legs and reaching all the way down to drink out of the ponds. In the wild, this is one of the things that claims a giraffe in later life. They drink less and less, they get weaker and weaker, and they either die of thirst or they get picked off by a predator. Well, here our senior citizen giraffe have served their species well by providing generations of offspring, and we cannot stand to see them just die of thirst, so we elevate the water for the elders. On the left side of the train are the horses from the deserts of Mongolia. These are Przewalski's wild horses. Przewalski's wild horses were at one time reduced to only 13 surviving purebreds, and they were isolated in different places around the world. When they were combined together into a single herd. And since that time, they've had more than 15 generations worldwide, including 124 babies born at the Wild Animal Park. Przewalski's wild horses have bred in captivity so well, we are releasing them into the wild for the second time. They're going home to China and Mongolia. Przewalski's wild horses are the only wild horses in the world. All of the horses are domesticated breeds created by people. If you look down in the front corner of the pond, you can see catfish. My dad lives in West Palm Beach, Florida, in the heart of Hurricane Francis, and he says that there's catfish swimming in the streets now.
Wow.
I figure alligators are only pretty far behind, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Think about it. We actually, we don't have any natural predators in this pond. In this whole half of the exhibit, there's no big cats over here for the scent to drive over the exhibits. So we actually use logs and we throw them in the pond and the animals think they're alligators. It's cool. It's fun to watch. That black pelican under the front wall is a chick. The parents are white. These are African great white pelicans. We actually brought them in to go fishing because over the years the carp in the ponds had grown so large most of our birds couldn't even eat them anymore. And the ponds are congested with fish. But the pelicans have helped restore balance to our miniature ecosystem. We do have some stork that go fishing for the small fry up in the reeds, up in the cove. Those are yellow-billed stork. And the kind of brown one is a chick of the yellow-billed stork. On the left side of the train, we have a mom and baby rhino. Hi, Lemby. How you feeling, good girl? We love this rhino. She's not even ours, but we just adore her. These are black rhinos. All the other rhinos live out peacefully with all the other animals, but black rhinos are much more aggressive and unpredictable. They do not play well with others. We finally had to give them their own exhibit. Lemby is an infertility patient from a zoo in Northern California. She never cycled in her whole life and never produced a viable egg for storage in our DNA bank. So we're especially delighted for her special delivery. He's 3 weeks old. It's critically important not to lose a single black rhino from the gene pool, because in the wild, black rhinos have become so rare, a rhino could wander its whole lifetime and never even find a mate. You might notice the black rhinoceros isn't very black.
Yeah.
They were misnamed. When Europeans first discovered black rhinos for the West, they were rolling in black volcanic mud, so they did appear black. But in fact, black and white rhinos really are the same gray-brown color. Ours tend to look red because we have a lot of red clay and they love to roll in the red mud. Out to the right side, the water buck down by the water. Lots of birds in the pond too, white egrets, cormorants, great blue herons, white-faced ibis, mallard ducks. But these are not really our birds. They are our guests for supper. You can tell our birds from all the native and migratory birds because our birds have one shorter wing. We're required by law to shorten one wing of the birds. That way they fly, but not well enough to escape. Since our birds are from Asia and Africa, we don't want them out and about in San Diego County. That would disturb the balance of the local environment. This area to the right side is a good place to visit with the larger exotic African birds. We call this area Heart of Africa. Heart of Africa is a 30-acre walk-through habitat designed to get you closer to the animals. It is stroller and wheelchair accessible. It's a great place to see the African birds, warthogs, okapi, colobus monkeys, and cheetahs. On the left side of the train, we'll visit with some chimpanzees. These used to be called pygmy chimpanzees, except that they're not any smaller than the common chimp, so they have been renamed bonobo. Bonobos are from the Congo. They're peaceful, playful, and exceptionally amorous. Known as the make love not worried, because they're the only primate that does not have war. The little tiny one, kind of in the back center, she's 3 years old. Her name is Moody Blue.
She's so teeny.
Bonobos probably are the smartest animals in the wild animal park. It's been estimated that they have the intelligence of a 3-year-old human child. Any of you with toddlers at home, you know just how smart that is. At the Oregon Primate Center, bonobos do math problems on the computers. Oh, on the right side, we get a peek at a few animals from the heart of Africa. They're not meant to be seen from the train, but they sure are pretty. They're called okapi. Okapi. They kind of look like they've been put together with spare animal parts. Surprisingly, though, okapi are not related to the zebra. They are the only living relative of the giraffe. On the left side, we're passing the Paul Harder Veterinary Medical Center. State-of-the-art, one of the finest of its kind in the world. Under construction is the Arnold and Mabel Beckman Crest Center, the Center for Reproduction of Endangered Species. This will house the library, DNA laboratory, and frozen zoo. For years, we've been saving DNA samples from the animals and plants as future insurance. The Zoological Society already has the world's largest and most diverse frozen zoo. And now frozen garden and seed bank as well. Please make sure your hands and faces are inside the railway. For the last few minutes of the tour, we're going to be seeing some of the park's botanical collection. And some of the plants out here do come pretty close to the train. Wherever we find our birds and our birds' food, you're going to find the local birds as well. So overhead, we see some turkey vultures, common buzzards, because up the right hillside, that green-shaped structure is the Bentho Amphitheater for the bird show. The bird show begins at 4 o'clock. The birds in the shows are free flight. Trained birds are exempt from the law that requires a shorter wing, so they can fly away if they wish. But keeping birds in the park is really not much of a problem. On the left side, grow acacia trees. We grow a lot of these acacia trees because we use them as food for the animals. The food bill here is about $70,000 a month. So we grow food everywhere we can. We also have a 400-acre farm where we grow food for the animals. You might have seen the farm. It's across the street. We're coming back into the center of the park, the Nairobi Village area. It's not really meant to be seen from the railway, but we should get a peek at some birds as we cruise through, primarily on the left side. On Flamingo Island, there's half a dozen little fuzzy gray chicks. These are threatened Chilean flamingos. Chilean flamingos are not from the tropics. They're from 15,000 feet elevation in the Andes Mountains. You can see a lot of birds in the Nairobi village area. Swans, the endangered Hawaiian nene, African whistling ducks that actually do whistle. They are tree dwellers, so a lot of times they go up high. Oh, rats. They're on the round platform at the ceiling, makes them hard to see. Daddy is black. Hello, he peeks down. Mom is blonde, you can see her arm. And their little boy is sort of a mixture. What you doing? Look at this. Most primates you would not want to talk to, but the gibbons are real friendly with people. Most animals you just have to really be quiet and respectful when doing them, but the gibbons seem to like to be entertained. They're real gregarious with people. Train full of people that will get to see them. They're very excited. These are the Australian birds. It's called Lorikeet Landing. See, it's an interactive exhibit. You can go in there with the birds, purchase a cup of nectar, and hand feed them. So they tend to get excited when they hear a train pulling out. Thank you very much for coming out to the Wild Animal Park and spending your day with us today. I'll take you back to retrieve strollers and wheelchairs. Just join me up front in the first couple rows of the very, very front of the train, and you can drive back with me and get strollers and wheelchairs. There you go. Enjoy the rest of your day at the park. Bye-bye.
A warthog? Say again? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, start pecking at your wheel. Here it comes again. No horn. Ooh, be careful, honey. Some of you talking. Yeah. Which way to the exit?
Take a left.
Huh?
You were right, I was wrong.
Yep.
Come on, buddy. Actually, you got it. Okay, come on.
We're here at the San Diego Zoo. It's only about 10 miles away from our place. Here's the entrance into the exhibits here.
But she does that all now.
It's Kathy in her natural habitat of smoking.
I think she said our ticket included us to
Hi. Hello again. Have fun.
I walk out, I turn this way, and I see 3 doctors and 2 nurses running nurses.
Rounds, then I'll direct you to the part we don't cover so that you can come back later on and get a good look at it yourself. The Zoological Society of San Diego is the largest non-profit organization of its type in the world, with a 250,000 members. On your right, this road goes down to bears, cats, and pandas, right down the center of the zoo. I left the gift shop, children's zoo, safari ride, crocodiles, Galapagos tortoise. And the gift shop here on your left, we have a candy shop that sells large chunks of weapons-grade chocolate. The apes, tigers, hippos, Victoria Forest, right down that path. Here's our flamingos. They get their unusual color, meaning shrimp and crustacean, other seafood products. Here in captivity, cheetah touch gives them artificial color. Little gray balls of fur that are baby flamingos. They don't turn completely pink for about 6 months. These animals stand in really caustic soda water alkaline solution that take the skin off a human's leg. So they've adapted to that. And adaptation, what an animal does is survive in the environment they're in. But sometimes the behavioral adaptations are as interesting as the physiological adaptations. Around the corner, we've got a little coffee shop, a little snack bar where you can watch the construction of our primate area. Get on your left, the gift shop, children's zoo. Next showdown, there's 3. And if you're on the upper deck, a few words of caution, feel free to stand up. Just don't stand up on the seats. If you fall off and injure yourself, there's a lot of paperwork they make me do. Watch your arms and legs, your children's arms and legs. We don't want you breaking your leg on anything rare. Entering Tiger River now, designed by the research folks to be the most conducive to raising animals in captivity. Again, it's today when we can put them back in the wild, when we've eliminated the reason for extermination, the pressures of civilization, poaching and hunting. Rainforests only cover about 6% of the world's surface, half the world's animals, 80% of species, and 2/3 of all birds live in rainforests. When we cut down trees for logging, agriculture, and cattle grazing, you destroy not only trees but animals. When there are no trees, there'll be no animals. Rainforests produce medicines. Most painkillers and circulatory medicines come from rainforest plants, as well as the helpful steroids used for arthritis and rheumatism. Perhaps the most important thing that rainforests do is the recycling of carbon dioxide to oxygen. But since we've cut down half of our trees in the last 50 years, we've lost the ability to do that, which means more drought, longer drought, higher temperatures. And in here you'll learn about rainforests, what you can do to help save them. Some things are simple. Be more careful with the wood you use. Use the more common northern hemisphere hardwoods rather than we're taking mahogany from the stripped rainforest.
Yeah.
And it's not too early if you think about a living Christmas tree this year rather than a cut dead one. Remember, cut dead Christmas trees go in the landfills. Now your left over here, this low ground cover with the shiny leaves is called Madagascar periwinkle. It's a kind of a common plant, but a real important pharmacological in a plant called, in a condition called infant leukemia. Also down there, although it's gone to seed, is a plant called foxglove, which by its other name, digitalis, is used in a number of different types of heart conditions. So that's a very good reason to save rainforest plants. The next rainforest plant we save could be the one that saves your life. Now on your right, there is a tiger. And unless you know what to look for, you might miss him. You ever see the tiger back there? The gold, black, and white of a tiger is not in the color frequency that will be picked up by the human eye in the light, dark of the jungle. He's right behind that banyan tree. Now that's just the amount of time it takes a little instant before he recognizes it for him to get his free lunch from an antelope. Now many cats go in the water to hunt, but tigers and jags are the only cats that enjoy swimming. And that's an adaptive device to save themselves. Look against the back wall there, that big, he's running against the back wall. It's a male Anyway, many cats go in the water, hunt tigers and jags, the only ones that enjoy swimming. Adaptive radiation. Okay, now this is called a biome or bioclimatic zone. These are plants towards animals from similar identical environments. The idea is to get you down with the animals and make you feel like you're part of the environment, not simply a bystander. We've all been bystanders on our planet for way too long. On the corners of Mabudu Village, it shows you how humans adapt to the rainforest. Bago bush from South Africa on your left. And acacia trees from Australia. We call such plants functional foliage. The animals can eat them, and they're a drought-tolerant landscape plant. The animals don't eat, we don't throw away. We shred up, put back in the ground in the form of soil amendment, as you can see in the other side of the bus over here. Now on your right over here, we have our hippos. Now they're born in the water, nursed in the water. They don't actually swim. They have negative buoyancy, kind of bound along the bottom in an underwater ballet. I thought if I talk long enough, they might come out. But the way to see the hippos is to, what typically people do is they go on the guided bus tour. Now you've all got a purple kangaroo stamped on your hands. So when you go back to the elements, which is where you start the express bus, you show the purple kangaroo and you ride the express bus all day long. That's a people mover. Moves you throughout the zoo, all the major attractions. So if you want to go, come back here to the tigers, the hippos, and the okapi, get off at stop 2 in the express bus. Now here's the okapi. That's from the Tory Force of Zaire. Not a zebra, nor is it a cross. It's a short-necked member of the giraffes. And they were unknown to us early 19th century. They thought it was a legend. On your right is Albert's, a copy of a resort in Nairobi. This is bamboo over here, and we have bamboo because we have pandas, and that's what they eat. It's the tallest living grass. Bamboo is the most heavily utilized plant on our planet. We wear it, we eat it, and we even make buildings out of it. This is the Ituri forest. Those are guanons, Allen's monkeys, red river hogs, and Congo buffalo there. Great exhibit to relax and watch the animals. So Express Bus Stop 2 is around the corner. The pandas are right there in that exhibit. The first corner you ride goes to the tigers and the hippos, and this pathway goes up to the predator birds. This is the lesser flamingos. So they're getting ready to build their nest. Each female is going to lay one egg, incubated for about a month. And we have buffleheads from the harbor. We have mallards, America's most common duck. We have white-faced whistling tree ducks, and we have Egyptian spur-winged geese. All from the African marshlands. On your left, we have a picture spot set by the Kodak folks, and here's our Express Bus Stop 2. Up on your left is Crest, Center for the Reproduction of Endangered Species, one of the finest in the world and the largest in the United States. It is the frozen zoo, the cells of animals who are not making the world right now. So you can have animals out there that would live right now, but they just became extinct, so we freeze them in liquid nitrogen. Again, today we can put them back in, well, kind of a frozen Noah's Ark for our animals. Now we're changing biomes as we head up to top of a drier climate. And so the animals in the exhibit, you can see them that are changing. On your left, we have California 163, which becomes US 15. If you take that road north for half an hour and follow the signs, you'll find our San Diego Wild Animal Park. And the animals up there are kept in enormous exhibits to encourage reproduction. Because we're no longer just a zoo, we're also a botanical garden with thousands and thousands of plants. On your right, there's a Javan bantang, and the dark animal in the corner is the first endangered animal species to be successfully cloned. That's the exact replica of an animal that died about 20 years ago at the Wild Animal Park. On your right, the California Tower. In Balboa Park, built for the 1916 Pan American Exposition for Dr. Harry Weggeborn, Stardars with Abandoned Animals. On your right, this is a Cuviegas off in North Africa. Increasingly threatened animal. These are really rare. Virtually extinct. These are Calamian Island here. They're from 5 small islands in the Philippine Sea. That's a diker. Diker's Afrikaans for diving buck. When they're scared, they kind of dive off the bushes. And these are Chicoan peccaries, the brown chocolate of Central South America. Truly an Ice Age relic. They were unknown to us early 1970s. They're related to Arizona collared peccary and the white-legged peccary. His big male peccary is a big male named Gregory Peccary. Gary Grunt. Hardly anybody around my age anymore, so they don't understand that, Chuck. On your left, we have the Western Turnbull Sky Safari Ride. Gives you a bird's eye view of our animal collection. Also takes you to the west and the east side of the zoo, the back again. If you like being hot, sunburning, and scared all at once, this is the ride for you. On your right, the best churros in San Diego. Kind of a Mexican delicacy, like a long donut. These are called takins. Takins are considered a national treasure of the Chinese that are originally protected, almost never allowed outside of China. Of the animals with hooves and horns, they are the least researched. From the same mist-shrouded foggy mountains of central China, we find golden monkeys and Chinese pandas. The takin, they're in the stock, the bovine, but they're in their own little subfamily. Very hard to classify. They're not clearly classifiable as goats or antelope. The next tree here is a herbal remedy for memory loss, but I forgot his name. No, it's ginkgo biloba. We're looking for a young'un here that was, oh, there you are. He'll be 5 weeks old on Friday. A little young female takin. For your Scrabble fans, T-A-K-I-N. Takins. All right, left we have stop 3 for the Safari ride. The benches on your left are made from recycled plastics, as are the information signs in our zoo. Throwing an orange juice container into landfill is a bad idea. It takes about 200 years for an orange juice or baby bottle to break down. But if you turn it into a bench, that's good. These benches won't rot, you can't get slivers from them, and you don't have to paint them. And because they're plastic, bacteria doesn't like them. That's another good reason we use them for the bedding for bears, cats, and birds. All part of recycling here in World Famous. Hoorah! On your right, these are called Nubian. They're from Nubia. They're sumarangs. Sumarangs are a very large gazelle with a very large head. The other animals are marabou stork. They're a scavenger from South Africa. They eat dead animals, and that way they stop the spread of disease. Stop 3. The round head there doesn't have any feathers on it. If they had feathers, there'd be a way to hide the bacteria. There are no bacteria. The sun kills and falls off. I have no way to get you on the bus, partner. If you want to go on the express bus, go to stop 3 and get picked up there. Right around the corner. 50 meters. And other adaptations, they eat dead animals, stopping the spread of disease. Marabou stork. They look like a vulture. They have a vulturine niche, but they're actually storks. The white animals here are Pachypodiums. They're from Madagascar. They're related to the plumeria. Now I left the red river hawk and the western giant forest hawk. These aren't rare yet, but they're on the way as their habitat is being destroyed. Now on the far side there, if you're from Texas, you might recognize a similarity. We think this is the ancestral form which gave rise to the Texas Longhorn. Those are the Maasai warriors' famous Ankole cattle. The Ankole. On your right, the pathway goes on to bears, cats, and pandas, and the moving sidewalk to bring it back up again. On your right, we have dragon trees on the Canary Islands. These are Bukaran deer, or Bactrian wapiti from Afghanistan. This is the rarest deer in the world. In 1995, they were extinct in the waterways of Afghanistan. This is just another example of animal parks and zoos that save these animals from extinction.
Wow, look at that rat. 6 on one, it looks like 6.
They've got a few animals from Afghanistan, remember?
On your right over this tall columnar plant is a euphorbia. It's an example of parallel development. It occupies an environmental niche in Africa and Asia that the cactus occupies in our part of the world. The nearest euphorbia I can think of you're familiar with is the poinsettia we have around Christmas time. On left we have a coral tree. And on your left, those are southern bush pigs. They've been known to follow monkeys underneath the trees, get the fruit they drop. Congo buffalo on your right, related to the Cape buffalo. Beautiful forest. The blossoms are from the crown of thorny euphorbia from Madagascar. Here's where you get your wine bottle cork from, the European cork oak. And there's a grubby zebra. Now there's 3 or 4 species of zebra, and they're all individually different. Within each species they're different, just like people do their fingerprints. That's the only grass eater in the African plains that has teeth in the upper front of the jaw.
There you go. Where's the blanket marks? That's right, underneath.
And that's important because they rip up dense vegetation, exposing the delicate undergrowth that the gazelle wombat can't get at because gazelle don't have teeth in the upper front of the jaw. That's why they follow zebras around. Notice while he's eating, he's got one ear cocked behind him. He hears anybody sneaking up on him. These are lesser kudu from Tanzania to Kenya. Little guys here are called Speaks gazelle.
Bad shoes.
And the steenbocks got a rough, see the line across their nose? That's an air bladder that can fill up when they're scared. It makes kind of a booming noise. It's a warning. And we have also the only steenbocks in the Western Hemisphere over here someplace. A little teeny thing.
Get some pictures of the elephants for you. Just one picture.
All right, don't come on. Anyway, the metal screen around the bark protects the bark and therefore the life of the tree. It allows them to eat what hangs over the edge. We call that pre-adaptation. We feed them their wild food in a captive environment. On your right, those are Garanooks. The long neck and the long legs allow them to reach up the trees, get that delicate vegetation, so they don't need a steady water supply. Well, here's some other steenbocks. Again, the only ones in the Western Hemisphere. Now, on your right, these are Dorcas gazelle. Dorcas is Greek for gazelle, so those are the gazelle. And the lighter color helps deflect the burning desert sun.
They all look the
Yeah.
On your left, these are more gazelle. They're a color phase of Dama gazelle, one of the rarest gazelle in the world. And these are, these plastic benches are our first ones, so they've been here 20 years. On your left, this is called a fall reebok. The fall part just refers to color reebok is what the animal is. They're for the ridge lines and mountains of South Africa. On your left here, these are Maasai giraffe. Where are you guys? Around the other side.
Oh, he's on the other side.
A Baringo with a more characteristic oak-leaf pattern on their body. The moats are only a few feet deep. They can easily get up and walk out, but giraffes are concerned about heights and will not take a step up or down more than a foot or foot and a half. They have 7 bones in the neck like a human and a heart over 2 feet long for pumping blood to the brain. My most commonly asked question about giraffe is why they have such long necks. Well, essentially it's because their heads are far from their bodies. Just check and see if I'll listen. The young one there was born the 23rd of May. She is the 6th calf of Abby by Silver. This is also the world's tallest pollinator. They go from plant to plant pollinating by getting pollen in their mustache and brushing it around. And when they walk, both left legs move, then both right to both left. They're a pacer or ambler. The horse has to be taught to walk like that. Animals have horns made from bone. It goes right directly from their skull. If it breaks off, it never grows back. Whereas with the deer shed their antlers every year.
5 kids on purpose.
This purple and green plant is a spurge from Ethiopia, and it's euphorbia. That's a fever tree, or sometimes called a fornication. Before the advent of modern medicine, they thought it caused malaria. Well, they knew about mosquitoes. This is a euphorbia. We call it the Dr. Seuss tree, although it's really not a tree. It's euphorbia. And but Dr. Geisel used to come in here and draw plants for his books. That's why we call it Dr. Seuss tree. This tree owl on your left, it appears in green eggs and ham. And these are Adax, A-double-E-A-X. The light color helps deflect the burning deserts. They're from the western Sahara down to Sudan. And the hoofs spreads out when we walk on sand. Well, here's chittering over there. There are small mongoose. Here's an express bus on your left, so please watch your arms. The left-hand side of the bus, please watch your arms. Looks just like my bus, the Green Banner. And this is a people mover. So I heard them squawking there, but I didn't. Oh, there's one right now. There's American. He's a sentinel. He's watching the sky in case there's a rock python or bird is going to swoop in on him. Every third Thursday, Friday of the month, the orchid show is open, and there's a self-guided botanical tour there if you're interested. This is a concrete copy of a kopi. It's a volcanic phenomenon found in East Africa. It's the top of a mountain surrounded with the dirt of ancient floods. That area looks like an island in the grass. Animals live on it. Kind of a touchy feeling.
Oh, yeah, it's
so
cool.
one of our reduced barriers.
This is cool.
Yeah. Wild San Diego children. Right
Do any animals get loose over there, I wonder?
And let's see, these are sumac trees from Russia. On your right, this is a goral, a goat antelope from China. And on the top, there's a baby one that was born on the 19th of June. Not quite a goat, not quite an antelope, one of those in-between animals, like our American Rocky Mountain goat. And the muskox are neither goat either, they're in between. About 10% of our exhibits are always being remodeled. Now you're right, the metal canning is all part of our water conservation program, gives them just the water they need.
Yeah, every 10 years it's all renovated.
Those are ibex from the Spain and Gibraltar. Now you'll find ibex throughout the Europe and Asian mountains, but these are the first ones from Spain and Gibraltar. The old man's in the right rear corner up here with a big 3-foot rack.
The old man.
These are bougainvillea. Now the purple stuff is a leaf, the white blossoms the flower. And the low plant here is dragontail agave. Up on your left, that's a Siberian lynx. And these things are fashion and possibly imagined, so watch your fingers by not putting them in there.
Fill the flowers I want to fill.
These are Sero, a true national treasure of the Japanese from the high mountains of the northern islands north of Hokkaido. Was never allowed outside of Japan. The Sero. Tall organ pipe cactus in the Andes, low bushes called jojoba, already used in oil, medicine, cosmetics. And these are, if you're from Arizona, there's your state tree, the Parkinsonia. And this pathway goes right around the top of there to the giraffes. These are all night animals, they don't like daylight. There's a fossa, that's what we think the ancestral form of the cat may have looked like. They're from Madagascar. Up by the elements is a bird called a kiwi, and right next door is a birdie colony of fossa.
What about foxes?
And more fossa. Well, maybe they moved the breeding colony. You're a fossa too. Anyway, those are breeding boxes up there.
Seuss trees.
And these are caracals, the long ears for herring and getting rid of body heat to relay the lynx, and they're from Afghanistan.
Just went inside. Long hair. Right up there.
One more animal show today at 2 o'clock, the animals of the rainforest and how they operate. Great show, don't miss it. My left here, these are black jaguars. Black jaguars are like black leopards. They're mutant or color phase. There's really no such thing as a black panther. And the jaguar is the largest of all the New World cats.
Where do you see it?
He says he
And his favorite food is Victor.
He's on the rock, on the first rock. Can't see him?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, I learned the hard
Like
way
his white teeth.
with a leopard.
Red tongue.
I didn't get bit, but I almost lost my face because I couldn't believe a leopard could move 70 feet in my length. Over the top is the Chinese leopard. Leopards are probably the most effective hunter of the large cats and the most widespread, although they're killed for their fur and civilizations destroying their habitat. These are hornbills. The fancy thing on the head, there's a casque, a lightweight honeycomb material, probably a resonating chamber, the noise they make. We also have a very rare Persian leopard there from Iraq and Iran, Israel. This is Express Bus Stop 5. And the animal shows behind me, the cats are cross street. There's a moving sidewalk right here that takes you up just south of the zebra. Here's the cat walk, and the bear walk, and the lion-tailed macaque monkeys from India right around the corner. To your left, right around the corner to your right are the pandas. On your right, the moving sidewalk goes to the apes, aviaries, and the restaurants. There's an Australian flame tree, what we call a bracket kite. And the African hunting dog on your left. These animals kill their prey in a series of zigzagging relays. And while they're in the dog family, they're not related to your family dog. They can go 3/4 of a ton. The bears don't hibernate. In the winter months, they go into a deep sleep. But they cannot and do not hibernate. They're omnivores, which means they'll eat just about anything that'll hold still long enough. And for a bear, that means lima-den animals, fruit leaves, berries, and grass. And the only bear which is a total predator is a polar bear, and even they will eat vegetation the summer months if there are no seals to bite. Bear in South America make their nests in trees. Really hang around. Don't let them bite you, they bite people. Every Halloween they turn into humans. Just kidding. Actually, bats provide a valuable service to us. They pollinate trees and plants like a bee, and they're the largest eater of insects in the world. If it weren't for the bats, the world would be ruled by insects. They're the only true flying mammal. And warty pigs from Panay Island in the Philippines, those are the only ones ever seen outside of the Philippines. They're extinct from 98% of the range of the most endangered mammals on our planet. Now, I've been pointing out to you different places to get off the bus. Over here is Express Bus Stop 1. That's where the party starts. And the movie throughout the zoo. One of our stalwarts there, Mike Mullen. Color taper, and the only taper type found in Asia. The Malayan or saddleback. They look like a pig, they're actually a Relo horse. Look at the odd number of toes.